there's other times where fire department members, and you are a member, and you're representing not only the fire department, but the town. If you have either an insignia or bumper sticker or a plate on the front of your truck, you're a firefighter representing Morris. Going by, giving the finger to town officials, this type of behavior has to stop. It cannot continue. We had a scene where the fire department answered a call as they were leaving, and it was witnessed by many people. Fingers were put out the window of the fire truck, and expletives were yelled.
Baloney.
When was that, Tommy?
So bad.
Remember we had this discussion down there in East Morris?
This is the type of behavior.
Tommy, if you're gonna lie out in public, we're gonna have words over this.
If this is the type of behavior that's going to continue, they really have to change it. There has to be discipline. There has been no discipline within the fire department. The emails to the president, to Joel, regarding some of this have gone unanswered by the complainants. And they act as if it doesn't ever exist, and you can't continue to do this.
I didn't know that part of our mission here was to discipline people.
I didn't say.
Right.
That's not what we're here to do.
I didn't say
And
that.
I don't disagree with you. But I don't think this should be a forum for you to be bringing this out. You should have a direct conversation with the fire chief about it if you don't like it.
We have.
And you shouldn't bring it out here.
And straighten it out then.
These people should be considered heroes here.
Right.
Yes.
And they are.
This is public knowledge.
Yes, but I don't think it's necessary to be bringing that out here.
If you want to move forward,
I thought we were until you started your comments.
what I'm saying is, the attitude, you know, Mr.
Yeah,
Black.
yeah, that'll
Chief Black-
change on its own.
Chief Black wants the town to respect the fire department more. And I do respect them. I know many firefighters. I respect what they do. I know a bunch of EMS people too. I respect what they do. But if you want the respect, this behavior has to stop.
I don't disagree.
Okay.
I don't disagree either, but one of the ways to get it to stop is, number one, that, yes, discipline needs to be given, and when necessary, and when proven that it's needed after investigation. But it also, right now, needs goodwill on the department side to answer these questions, and goodwill on the town side. You've got to give them something back to keep them looking at this as, yes, we're making changes, we're going to give them this, and they're going to allow us to move forward with this, whatever that this is, whether it's the agreement or whether it's the ability for them to come to the town when necessary and say, we have some really bad equipment and this is what we need, and you take them for their word and help them get that equipment. That's how it works in almost any other fire department I've ever known, and it needs to get back to working that way here. So, yes, discipline needs to be done if necessary and proven that it needs to be, and yes, I think we can help the chief get the answers to these questions here. Tonight's the first time I saw this list, and I know I wasn't here the last one, so that's no one's fault but my own. But then the town needs to give something back showing good faith that we're moving forward.
What are your thoughts on, I don't know how it works in your various towns, on fire commissions? Is that a thought? Because I know sometimes the level of discipline, the qualifications all go
I'm
to
from
the
a
fire
town of
commission.
21,000 people, and we have no fire commission.
Okay.
And we get along great with our town manager and with our town council.
Right.
And our charter, in one very short paragraph, describes what the department is, and the department takes care of its own affairs and gives the town a request for a budget, and the town tells us, yeah, we can, or no, we can't,
Right.
you know, whatever it might be, and then we decide where the money goes to, with purchase orders, which I know is new here for the fire department, but I believe it is a paper trail that probably needs to be followed, unfortunately, but it does. And we govern our own affairs. Our town manager, when we need an engine, the town sets aside money every year, and when we get to the point where Our engine is 20, 25 years old, never 31 years old. Our truck committee gives the town the paperwork that says, here is the truck that we need to replace this truck. Okay, there is no equipment committee. And the town, we go to bid and we get the truck.
Yeah, I see.
Never, ever have, we do not have input from our town. Never do I supply them with an inventory list. Never have. I have an inventory list, so if they need to see it, they can come down and see it. But I have never been asked to supply our town with an inventory list.
Yeah, obviously, Watertown's a much larger town than Morris,
Right.
we're barely 2,400 people.
Yep.
Yeah, I just, the reason I ask, I look at Litchfield, and they have multiple departments within their town, and they do have a fire commission.
Mhm.
And things like qualifications and physicals and budgets and vehicles all go through the fire commission. I just wonder if that was a thought that perhaps.
I don't know
maybe-
why it would be necessary, but it certainly is an avenue you could explore if you wanted to. As regard to our physicals, all 93 of my guys get a full physical, whether they're interior, exterior, or EMS, every single year. And I asked for one purchase order for all of them, and it's done.
And I don't believe that Litchfield Fire Commission has anything to do with physicals. They only deal with gear, large dollar items, because each
I heard
fire
differently,
department,
so.
each fire department has its own list. Obviously, big dollar items. Bantam gets a truck one year, you've got a plan between the next truck to East Litchfield, next truck to Northfield. You couldn't do them all in a row. It also helps them because they have 4 departments buying and stuff. So for their situation, it actually works very well. We're a single group. It's oversight that is absolutely not needed, in my opinion. On the air packs, Scott asked me that question, and he had it within a week. It was $138,000. So if you insinuate that we didn't get you the answer, we got it to him right away.
No, but I think part of that was where the date was when you needed to have them replaced, you know, things like that. So we could plan on it and the capital non-recurring.
I think for this year, that was what was proposed. It was okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
How old are they, Joe?
15 years this year.
15 years. Recommended replacement is 10.
relate to the game.
Yes.
Kent does not have a fire commission either. Does not. It's governed by the fire department. I think I told you we get a grant from the town. Cheryl told a story back in 2008. We were commissioning to build a new firehouse. We had outgrown the old firehouse in the early 70s, and we're spread around town with different vehicles all over the place. So a committee was formed, went to referendum, it passed. There was a group that started a petition to overturn that because they felt that the building was too grandiose. So it was overturned, a new committee was formed, that basically, that committee didn't feel that the fire department knew what they were talking about the building. They requested that a consultant be hired. The consultant was hired. Not only did the consultant report come back and say that the fire department was spot on with what they needed for the building, but you also have to buy them a $1 million ladder truck because of the high-profile buildings in town. So, most fire departments know what they need, know what their needs are, and have done their research.
Yeah, I looked at the consultant report for Bethlehem, it just was done, I think, this past year. And I think Woodbury had one done also by the same consultant. And that's a thought for Morris, because the consultant does not only look at your own fire department, they look at your neighbors too. They look to see what is really needed for the area, and not just thinking of your own little fire department, but your neighbors, like mutual aid people also. So that might be a thought to pursue. And they will come back with some very expensive recommendations.
Yep.
And you can do all you can do to follow them. Anything further tonight?
I think we can't leave here tonight without setting up some sort of rendezvous at the fire station.
Sure.
Thursday nights work best. That's our general work night or drill night, depending. So unless you guys want to set up a different night, that would be best for us. I don't know if you guys see a fire truck, so we can,
We give you a couple of weeks and to work on and getting everything set, and then, so a couple of Thursdays from now or something? I don't know how everybody else, well, unless you wanna do it a month from now and keep meeting once a month, it's up to you guys.
I think sooner is better, only until I think we should get the answers to these questions. And I wouldn't mind going over and working with Joe myself, if need be. And then maybe once a month, but I think we need to get over this hurdle right now. Get these two guys to stop thinking at each other, you know, that would be a big move in the right direction.
Agreed.
Do we have a service agreement currently besides the revenue?
We've never had an agreement. I'm not sure how it works in the other towns. Do you have service level agreements? Nothing?
Do we have a service level? Was there something put on the table tonight?
The fire department had one that was free for that.
I'll give you a copy of the section in our town charter of what it says the fire department does for in Watertown. Absolutely don't have to follow it at all, but it gives you an idea of what Watertown does. All right, so we're agreed we're gonna meet in 2 weeks? Is that what we're agreeing to?
What are we bringing back in 2 weeks?
Meet at the firehouse. This list.
Sounds great to me.
We okay if we meet in 2 weeks and we, at the firehouse, and we'll look at your records over there?
okay, so Albert, he's
That
not,
sound reasonable?
we'll have to, yes.
Okay.
Will we have the answers then?
And we could help, we'll help you, if you need help from any of us.
No, we'll get it done, we'll make sure it is.
To the questions? Oh, we will?
Yes,
Okay,
that's the goal of that meeting, yes.
cool.
Thanks.
What's our feeling on the service agreement? Whether it's needed or not?
You know, we've never had one, but in
And was it-
in
I'm sorry.
recent history, we've had problems that got created, and that's why it was one of those things where you had to delineate who was responsible for what,
Right.
because the lines did all this thing, which was not normal. So that's probably why the service level agreement idea came about. So it was one of those where it would maybe draw some lines that had been blurred.
I think it's important myself. I haven't read this, and we need to read this, obviously.
Right.
But,
Have you read the service agreement?
The one that was proposed, yes.
Yeah. And how did you feel about that?
Uh,
Some changes, or?
I think it was a bit premature. I think we need to work through some of these issues first, but,
Like what issues?
well, at the time, they were talking about EMS,
Yeah,
which is
and
no
say-
longer on the table.
Just say we're not. Say if we're not, do you like that agreement?
I think it was a little too far reaching. It asked for things that we cannot do as a town, especially financially.
Such as?
You'd have to go through it.
Well,
Do you have a copy? You want to do that tonight?
Let's do it.
There's part of it, I mean, you can start, if you want to go line by line. There was a 60-day written notice where they could get out of the agreement. I did not feel that was very good, best interest of the town of Morris.
Okay.
Should be longer.
I
Should
would-
not be able to get out of it at all.
It's gotta be something different than 60 days, because if you're without your fire service
Yep.
within 60 days,
Why would anybody ever want to get out of the agreement?
Freedom, I can't think of anything else.
What do you mean by freedom?
It seems sometimes we're tied down to the building, that's my kind of a poor attempt at humor, thank you, Mark. I think when we had looked at the ones that we copied most of this off of, they had a cancellation type stuff in there, and it's just a verbiage. Granted, you don't expect the fire department to bail out, but you don't expect the town to bail out either.
Okay, what else?
I mean, some of the stuff we just do as we have past practice, you know, maintaining the building, the grounds, all that.
Yep, seems like it.
Well, but a lot of that, we hadn't been doing as past practices, which is where the lines came up. Keep going, thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't know what.
That's all right, we'll get into it.
Let's see. Full usage of the buildings and grounds. Well, there's an area in the basement of the fire department that formerly housed the library and currently houses the American Legion Post and the common room for meetings generally used by the Boy Scouts. It's a town area, will continue to be a town area.
So they just have to simply be added on the line, excluding,
But, sorry, the permission to use those areas is done through the town or through the fire department?
Town.
Through the town.
Yeah, we moved the
'Cause
fire marshal over there, emergency management director also.
In Kent, it's the same thing. The firehouse houses the EMD, the Boy Scouts use the firehouse, but that's all
It's through the town.
through, okay.
so that should be included, Tom. Another sentence, including,
Or not included.
or added, or not
included in
included.
that area.
Okay.
Permission to use outside separate organizations can use the place. Well, obviously there needs to be some guidelines put in place for that.
Couldn't the fire department put those guidelines in?
Well, they'd have to meet the town insurance requirements also. I mean, this is a town building,
Right, but if they,
town insurance.
okay. So if they came through with recommendation that, you know, the Girl Scouts want to hold a regional meeting here next weekend or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah.
that's, as long as it met your insurance stuff, that's all.
Correct. Number one, further down, the town will adequately fund the fire department's budget to maintain all fire rescue EMS equipment to at least minimum Connecticut DOT, Connecticut Motor Vehicle, NFPA, DPH, OEMS standards, as well as all upgrades recommended by said agencies. That ties the town to a totally unknown expense. And we cannot do that.
Where
Why is that?
We do the best we can with the money we have. It's not a bottomless pit of funds.
It kind of sounds like a lot, but it's not.
But, you know, in a
No, it
PA
sounds like a lot of words, but it's not.
I know.
It makes sure the fire trucks are operating properly and are fit for the road.
You're obviously familiar with NFPA.
Yep.
Which is a recommendation.
Yep.
Right, I was just saying to Eric, I think you may want to consider removing the NFPA. The rest of it is stuff that has to be done. DMV, DOT, there's no discussion on it.
I think they have to be done,
Yes,
but again, we have to work within our budgets too.
well,
Well,
yeah.
you
but,
may have a hard
know,
time explaining that when the chief's responsible for something.
Right.
You understand how that works?
yeah, it-
I'm just saying, you know, someone's gonna be responsible for this.
NFPA, you might be able to remove there because it is recommendations, and we're not an NFPA state, but we are.
So I'm just going over the things
DOT and
we're,
all of that has to be abided by. The trucks have to be safe to carry your volunteers to
Of
and
course.
from. And that's all that those are saying there, is that.
right. I mean, you asked what was wrong with the agreement, and I'm trying to point out
Yep.
the
Well, you
issues.
realize you don't like it, but it's pretty necessary.
So we're
Well,
going,
NFPA, no, I don't believe it's
No,
necessary to
no,
have
it's
in
not.
there.
so let's cross that out.
Yeah.
Although state statute changed in October regarding
Pump tests.
Maintenance of-
Pump tests and maintenance,
will meet NFPA 19, whatever.
1910.
Number three, I kind of like. Records will be stored within the fire department office, which is fine, and available for viewing upon request by town officials. That would be a step in the right direction.
Yep.
Town will appropriate sufficient funds for all fire rescue EMS equipment replacements in accordance with DOT, DMV, NFPA, DPH, OSHA, and OEMS standards. We'll try. We can't guarantee it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that goes for the last one too. To the best of our ability, financially or otherwise.
So we had to the best of our ability at the end.
We'd have to go through this
Yeah.
good meeting to sit down and look at it word for word.
We're gonna start.
Well, and a lot of that, when you build a truck, it's required to meet the NFPA requirements. The manufacturer has to certify it. If we, for example, the town decided to leave something off that was an NFPA requirement, and there's a problem, then we're on the hook for it. Because the manufacturer knows exactly what's required, and if there's some sort of problem, some attorney's gonna find out you didn't do it according to a nationally recognized association, then you get into trouble.
I wouldn't imagine you could let a truck like that.
You wouldn't be able to do it. It's one of those, you're responsible for it, nobody would sign off on it.
Tom, like, this just, what we went through 1 through 5, I mean, that's the basic responsibility of the town to, fund what's necessary to keep the equipment running, basically.
To the best of our ability.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if we could buy 6 new trucks today, it would be great, because we probably need 5 new trucks right now.
Well, I'd settle for one right now.
And maybe skip the brush truck, but the rest of them, yeah, to the best of our ability.
Right.
We can't just be bound by this and saying we're gonna do it without the funds to
Right.
make it happen.
But we've always been required to come to the Board of Finance and sell it to the Board of Finance.
But
And
this
then you
is-
have to sell it to the public out here anyways.
This is kind of binding the town to something more than they can really go
It's
for.
just a simple wording change and it will be
Right.
fixed.
But again, you still have to get the approval of the Board of Finance and all these taxpayers. So you can't just say, we're gonna do this because you couldn't possibly sell it.
Number 5, we do that already, supply fuel. Gear and personal protective equipment. Sufficient funds for all gear, and TPEs, maintain compliance. And again, to the best of our ability, we will, and we do.
Mhm.
Fire department will maintain appropriate records for all issued gear. Notify us what they need in the future. And this, number 3, I don't know how, maybe you can help us how it works in other departments. Say you have a member that leaves and they don't return their gear, what do you do?
I send the police officer to
State
their
police.
house.
Right.
Joel, is that what we do?
It's town equipment, and the last time we had this discussion, I mentioned it to you, and we did not come up with a solution.
So we have one now.
Well, you kind of build up to it.
Yeah, you've got
You
to,
get his friend to go say, what about the gear? And if that doesn't work, you send somebody else. But the end result is you end up doing that, but you hope you don't have to.
I just kind of said, well, follow past practice and do what you normally do.
Yeah, it's a fairly common sense approach.
It's pretty rare.
I was just gonna ask, is this something you run into a lot?
No.
Once every 5 years, you gotta chase
We don't
somebody.
want them guys
Yeah, you
anyway.
don't, yeah, well, but getting the stuff back is the harder part. It's a rare occurrence.
So training, again, you could probably just keep slipping in the same verbiage at the end to the best of our ability. Training supplies. And actually, some of the training, and this is part of the reason for asking some of the records that we were asking for, we need like a driver's file to be maintained here at the town hall. We need to run the MVRs on a yearly basis. We need to have the driver's files available for our insurance companies. So that would be kind of a good thing. We don't have to have it here, I guess, but if we had copies of it, that would be wonderful. I mean, normally you get copies of their licenses. You run an NVR hopefully every year because you could miss something unless it's a CDL license.
and you you couldn't trust your fire chief to get that information and keep it on file?
I just said, yeah, you can keep it there, but if we had copies, because we need to run the MVRs, will the fire department run the MVRs for us, or?
We run ours. So.
What's the MVR stand for?
Motor vehicle report? Check and drive, if someone had so many moving violations within 6 months, do you have a criteria of who's allowed to drive, who's not allowed to drive? Reckless driving, DUI, things like that. A lot of times you don't know what happens in someone's personal life until you check the MVR.
There's an example of something the town can do on behalf of the fire department. You've got staff, more staff here than there, and Joel's indicated he'd rather concentrate on other, life safety, more important issues. That seems to me a no-brainer.
We do a background check when people join, and that goes through the whole drivers and any other history they have. They go back 7 years, but we never have a follow-up after that.
Training, like I said, to the best of our ability. Contracts. Will completely fund any contracts entered into by the volunteer fire department on behalf of the town. Yes, I would agree if the town approved.
That's the
right
first
there.
line.
Yeah, I know.
It's left down.
It says,
In the previous one, it did not say that, and that was a little trouble.
Which previous one?
The previous agreement that was sent over. Provided supplies, again, to the best of our ability, and all this goes through the normal budget process that all departments in the town go through. And that's the way it's gonna happen and has happened. Conduct, that'll be good. And as far as number 2 on conduct, I don't know why it's in here for the town to agree to, but I would think that's something that's just normal on the scene for a fire department,
State statute.
and how it works between fire departments and state police and whoever else might be there.
yeah, that's a statute.
And I guess if the town doesn't have any insurance, number 2, we don't have any of the information, then we're not required to keep it safe or secure. And some of this, like under the insurance, would have to provide the insurance company and probably through legal counsel too. Number 3 on the VFD officers, I'm not sure how that really works. I have to research that more. And obviously we can take out EMS services and ambulance revenue. And miscellaneous 1 through 6 would have to go through legal. As far as incentives goes, that would go through town ordinance. I cannot guarantee that because that goes through the legislative body of the town, which is the town meeting.
That's currently in place though, right?
That's in place, correct.
All of it,
To the best of my knowledge.
Pension?
$10 per call.
Actually, currently it's $5 per call. No, actually, I was thinking for the pension. No, that's new. Number 3 is a new thing.
So,
Unless they want to set up a line item within their budget to pay for something like that, and it was agreeable to the town.
Joel, is that in lieu of the tax abatement?
No, that was an addition that we put in. And
And you
again,
should have the choice of either tax relief or per call stipend.
this was a proposal.
Yep,
We didn't get it any farther than we put down to have input from the town.
okay.
And say, for example, you do have people that are tenants in town, and they're on the fire department, but they get no tax abatement, for example, $1,000.